Hello, my fellow minor league nerds, and welcome to our latest Mostly Forgotten Teams episode. In this episode, we will look at the Springfield Cubs. I thought Springfield, Illinois and Missouri were Cardinals territory, and Springfield, USA was home of the Isotopes. Oh, Springfield, Massachusetts, who played in the AAA International League from 1950 to 1953. Springfield actually had another team named the Cubs just before this one, who played in the Class B New England League in 1948 and 1949. The league existed in many incarnations between 1886 and 1933, with the one the Cubs were members of beginning in 1946. In that first season, they finished in 6th place in the 8-team league, with a 52-74 record, 33.5 games behind the pennant-winning Lynn Red Sox, who lost the league championship series to the Nashua Dodgers 4-1. The Cubs drew 95,406 fans that first season. The New England League returned in 1949 once again with 8 teams, which included the Cubs. The Providence Grays, who were taken over by the league on June 2nd when the team's owners informed them that they would miss payroll, were dropped by the league on June 21st. Following the games played on July 19th, the Manchester Yankees, Lynn Tigers, and Fall River Indians all dropped out as well, with the other 4 teams voting to carry on. The league created a new schedule, splitting the season into a first and second half. The Cubs ended the first half in 4th place, with a 36-37 record, and finished the second half, the one that mattered for postseason play, in 3rd place, with a 21-27 record, for an overall record of 57-63, with their attendance increasing to 102,387. They met the Pawtucket Slaters in the first round of the playoffs, sweeping them in 2 games, 11-9 and 10-6, to face the Portland Pilots in the League Championship Series, which they lost in 7 games. The New England League folded following the season, leaving Springfield without a professional baseball team. Or so it appeared. In spite of the New England League failing, the Chicago Cubs still believed that Springfield was a good baseball market and were interested in bringing another team to the city. This led to executives to set out to secure another franchise for the city. In early September, word got out that the Cubs were looking at purchasing either the Wilkes-Barre Indians or the Williamsport Tigers of the Eastern League. But nothing came from that, with both teams returning to the league in 1950. Instead, they set their eyes on the Newark Bears of the AAA International League, who were up for sale. This incarnation of the Bears had been around since 1921, after the Akron Pneumatics, or Buckeyes, relocated to the city after playing their lone season in 1920. We cover the Pneumatics on a Mostly Forgotten Teams episode that you should check out if you haven't done so already. The Bears had been affiliated with the New York Yankees since the 1932 season, after being purchased by Jacob Ruppert, the principal owner of the Yankees, from financially strapped newspaper editor Paul Block, for an estimated $350,000, roughly just over $8.2 million today. He also purchased their ballpark, David's Stadium, which was built in 1926, renaming it Ruppert Stadium. The Bears under Ruppert's ownership were considered the crown jewel of the Yankees minor league system. They won the International League pennant in 1932, 1933, 1934, 1937, 1938, 1941, and 1942, and won the league's playoff championship, called the Governor's Cup, which began in 1933, in 1937, 1938, 1940, and 1945. They also won 3 Junior World Series titles by defeating the American Association champions in 1932, 1937, and 1940. Due to the growth of television, fans who lived in New Jersey could now watch Yankees, Giants, and Dodgers games at home instead of crossing the Hudson River to attend in person. This caused the Bears' attendance to drop dramatically. In 1932, they drew 342,001, but only saw 88,170 fans in 1949. At the same time the Bears were put up for sale, the Yankees chose to reorganize their farm system, dropping them as a AAA affiliate, just retaining the Kansas City Blues of the American Association. Bears fans were heartbroken when they found out their team was up for sale. Springfield, New Haven, Connecticut, and Quebec City were all possible new locations to land the Bears. The Cubs' interest in purchasing the club and relocating them to Springfield centered on Pinchan Park being renovated to meet AAA standards. When the Cubs brought a New England League team to the city, the ballpark, which dated back to the 19th century, saw its first upgrades since 1928. In order to bring AAA baseball to the city, the Springfield City Council agreed to extend the Cubs' current lease for an additional 20 years, but it could not legally designate money for the necessary upgrades for what was a private venture. Instead, the money, which totaled an estimated $250,000, was raised privately. Some of the renovations included a new steel fence, a new grandstand and concession stand, improved fire safety measures, doubling the number of entrances to the stadium, paving the parking lot, and resodding the infield. The Cubs' purchase of the Newark Bears and their relocation to Western Massachusetts was announced on January 12, 1950. A Meet the Manager night was held on February 6, 1950. A capacity crowd came out to Municipal Auditorium to meet the AAA Springfield Cubs' first manager, Stan Hack. He had a 16-year career with the Chicago Cubs and managed the Des Moines Bruins of the Western League in 1948 and 1949. In 1948, he led them to a league pennant, with them finishing in first with a 76-64 record. But they were knocked out in the first round of the playoffs by the Lincoln Athletics, 3-2. In 1949, he led them to a fourth-place 70-70 finish and the League Championship Series, after they gained revenge on Lincoln, taking them down in 4 games in the first round. Unfortunately, they lost the championship series to the Pueblo Dodgers in 7 games. Others in attendance at the Meet the Manager night were Frankie Frisch, the manager of the Chicago Cubs, Frank J. Shaughnessy, the president of the International League, and Jack Sheehan, chief of the Chicago Cubs farm system. The event was such a success that it showed the Cubs they made the right choice in choosing Springfield. Fans who attended the event were excited to have AAA baseball in town. The event was also a thank you to Jack Sheehan for spearheading the movement to purchase Newark and bring them to Springfield. The day after, he reflected, saying, "It has always been my contention that Springfield and Western Massachusetts is a great sports area, and the wonderful turnout of fans last night makes my conviction stronger than ever. With fans like this, I don't see how International League baseball in Springfield can miss." With the addition of the Springfield Cubs, the Chicago National League team now had 2 AAA franchises, as they still owned and operated the Los Angeles Angels of the Pacific Coast League. With the upgrade to AAA, fans in Springfield saw an increase in the quality of players. When the city was in the New England League, only 4 players ever made it to the major leagues. They were Dick Elward, who played 4 games for the Cleveland Indians in 1953, Jim Brosnan, who played 9 seasons with the Cubs, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and Chicago White Sox, Billy Klaus, who played 11 seasons with 6 different teams, and Dusty Rhodes, who played 7 seasons with the New York and San Francisco Giants. In comparison, 58 members of the AAA Springfield Cubs made it to the majors at some point. With a 5-time All-Star and key player for the Chicago Cubs pennant wins in 1935, 1938, and 1945 in charge of the team, there was a lot of optimism in Springfield at the start of the season. Their inaugural home opener was scheduled for Thursday, April 20th, against the Buffalo Bisons, with the game being rained out. The two met on the 21st, on what was a cold and blustery day. The color guard from the Westover Air Force Base, now Westover Air Reserve Base, presented the colors, and Springfield's mayor, Daniel B. Brunton, threw out the ceremonial first pitch. In the game, the Cubs scored first after plating 2 in the 3rd inning. Their first run was scored by center fielder Bill Talbot after Buffalo's pitcher Hal Wood walked Springfield's catcher Forrest Burgess with the bases loaded. Springfield added to their lead by scoring 1 in the 4th, with Buffalo scoring its first run in the 5th. Springfield took a 4-1 lead after scoring another in the 6th. Buffalo tied it up after they scored 3 in the 6th. Springfield took a 4-1 lead after scoring another in the 6th. Buffalo tied it up after they scored 3 in the 6th. The game remained tied going into the 8th, with Buffalo taking the lead after scoring 1 in that inning, adding 3 more in the 9th to win the game 8-4 in front of 5,225 fans. The Cubs defeated Buffalo 9-4 the following day for their first win of the season. After that, they hosted the Toronto Maple Leafs for a 4-game series, only managing to win 1. Despite the poor start, their fans' optimism remained, though they finished the season in 5th place with a 74-78 record, 18.5 games behind the pennant-winning Rochester Red Wings. They drew an impressive 201,217 fans, nearly 100,000 more than 1949, which was the 5th most in the league. The International League awarded its first Rookie of the Year award following the season, with Springfield's third baseman Randy Jackson winning it after hitting .315 in 117 games, with 134 hits, 68 RBIs, 78 runs scored, 22 doubles, 5 triples, and 20 home runs. He made his Major League debut with the Big League Cubs that season, going on to have a 10-year Major League career with the Chicago Cubs, Brooklyn and Los Angeles Dodgers, and the Cleveland Indians. As a Chicago Cub, he was selected to the National League All-Star team in 1954 and 1955. 21 other players from their inaugural season would see time in the major leagues, including Gene Baker, Bob Barkowski, Smokey Burgess, Hank Edwards, Warren Hacker, Bob Thurman, Bill Voiset, and Jack Walesa. In 1951, they were managed by Bill Kelly, who played 32 games in Philadelphia with the Athletics and Phillies in 1920 and 1928. He managed the Chicago Cubs' other AAA team, the Los Angeles Angels, from 1947 to 1950, leading them to the Pacific Coast League Championship in his first season. Under Kelly's leadership, the Springfield Cubs finished in last place with a 63-90 record, 31.5 games behind the pennant-winning Montreal Royals, who also went on to win the International League's Governor's Cup championship. The Cubs' attendance dropped to 105,052 that season. Things weren't any better with Kelly leading them in 1952, when they finished in last place once again, with a 65-88 record. Their attendance, though, increased slightly to 107,675. 26 members of the 1951 and 1952 teams would make it to the majors. The players who saw the most significant time in the big leagues include, from the 1951 team, Stan Spence, Emile Verban, Harry Cheedy, and Monk Dubiel. And from the 1952 team, Herman Bessie and Glenn McQuillan. In 1951, Jack Walesa led the league with 40 doubles, while Carmen Morrow led with 11 triples. The 1951 team made some baseball history when they were the first professional baseball club to add players' numbers to the front of their jerseys. The Brooklyn Dodgers copied the practice the following season, with most other big league clubs following suit. There were 2 bright spots for the residents of Springfield those 2 seasons when the Boston Red Sox came to town to play exhibition games at Pinchan Park, defeating the local boys 5-2 in 1951 and 6-1 in 1952. The 1951 game drew 10,736 fans, a record at the time for the largest crowds to ever see a baseball game in Western Massachusetts. 9,160 came out for the 1952 game. Bruce Edwards, who had a 10-year big league career with Brooklyn, the Cubs, Washington, and Cincinnati, replaced Kelly in 1953 in what was his first season managing. Things did not go well under his leadership, with him being let go after 33 games, with the Cubs holding a 13-20 record. He was replaced by the Chicago Cubs farm director Jack Sheehan, who had a 22-season professional career, only playing 8 major league games for Brooklyn in 1920 and 1921. The last team he managed was the Peoria Tractors of the Illinois-Indiana-Iowa League in 1935. Things did not improve under Sheehan, with the team going 38-82 under his stewardship, finishing last in the league with a 51-102 record, 45.5 games behind the pennant-winning Rochester Red Wings, who were swept in the Governor's Cup Finals by the Montreal Royals. Their attendance fell to 85,281. That's nearly a 60% drop over 4 seasons. 10 additional players from the 1953 team ended up making it to the major leagues, with Don Elston, Dave Hillman, Sheldon Jones, and Ron Northey seeing the most significant time. There were a few bright spots for the Cubs that season, as Herb Adams led the league with 12 triples, and pitcher Don Elston had 20 complete games, tying with Bob Trice of the Ottawa Athletics. A not-so-bright spot was pitchers Jim Brosnan and Don Elston, tying with Duke Markell of the Syracuse Chiefs with 17 losses. The demise in the popularity of the Springfield Cubs over those 4 seasons can be blamed on 2 factors: lack of quality players and the growth of television. The Chicago Cubs won the 1945 National League pennant, their last until 2016. But the 8 seasons after that saw them finish in the second division every season except 1946. During the 4 years the two were affiliated, the Big League Club finished in 7th twice, 5th once, and 8th once. Lacking the talent to fill a major league roster meant they also lacked the talent to fill out 2 AAA rosters, with the Angels getting most of the top talent. In September 1953, Chicago put the Springfield team up for sale. Roberto Bobby Maduro, who owned the Havana Cubans of the Class B Florida International League, was interested in purchasing the team and moving his Cubans up to AAA. He purchased the rights to the Springfield team in December, elevating his team and renaming them the Havana Sugar Kings, who we covered in a previous franchise history series episode, so be sure to check it out if you haven't already. With the loss of the Cubs, the Boston Red Sox became the sole professional baseball team in New England. Professional baseball returned to Springfield in 1957, when the Johnstown Johnnies of the Eastern League relocated to the city, becoming the Springfield Giants. They would win the league championship in 1959 and 1961, and shared the 1960 title with the Williamsport Grays after weather caused the cancellation of the series. After the 1965 season, they moved to Waterbury, Connecticut, and folded following the 1968 season. Back in Springfield, Pinchan Park burned down in 1966, and Springfield has not hosted another professional team since the Giants left. Well, my fellow minor league nerds, that'll do it for this episode. If you haven't heard, we now have a store on TeePublic where you can buy various minor league nerd merch. Let the world know that you're also a major nerd for the minor leagues by picking up some swag. We'll leave a link to the store in the episode notes. If you haven't done so already, be sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel or the podcast platform of your choice to be notified whenever a new episode is released. And until next time, stay safe and remember to never stop supporting minor league baseball and never stop learning about minor league baseball history. The Chicago Cubs won the 1945 National League pennant, their last until 2016. Sorry, I have a throat thing. Redo that. The Chicago Cubs won the 1945... let me have a sip of water. I feel like that's what I need. Or maybe my body is just like, ew, Cubs winning. Ew, ew. I don't want to talk about that. I can't be happy about that. Ew. Ew. I'm allergic to the Cubs winning.
Yeah, that's putting it in there. You know, they didn't do it again for another, 60, 80 years?
Yeah, and my allergies have been worse since 2016. Is that going to be our blooper?
The world has been worse since 2016.
Yeah.
This podcast is part of the Curved Brim Media Network. Here are some of the other members of Curved Brim Media.
Hi, this is Ed Rivera of the Dad Hat Chronicles. Join me as I interview people just like you and players, coaches, GMs on the path that led you to become a fan of the sport.
I'm Paul Caputo, and on the Baseball by Design podcast, I talk to minor league baseball teams, designers, and other super interesting people about what these minor league baseball logos mean, and I talk a little bit about ice cream helmets.
What's up, Bucketheads? I'm Anna DiTomaso, and each week on the Baseball Bucket List podcast, I speak with a different fan about their favorite baseball memories, what the game means to them, and what's left to check off on their baseball bucket list.
Hey everyone, it's Eric from the great state of Kansas.
This is Johnny from the New Orleans Baby Cakes Memorial Museum.
And we are the Earn Fun Average Podcast,
where we talk to a variety of guests about their love of baseball and have fun doing it.
America, lower your standards.
Average is what we do best.
This is Patrick
and Corey
of BaseballMapper.com. And we have made an interactive map to help highlight all baseball teams from the majors down to collegiate summer leagues.
We want to bring you closer to baseball. So get on the site and find a team near you today.
Hey guys, this is Patrick Larson from the Minor League Baseball Hat History Series. And in every episode, I go through the history of minor league teams through my personal collection of hats. You can find me on Twitter at PatLarson1. I hope you guys enjoy.
Learn more about Curve Brim Media at curvebrimmedia.com.